Hello and welcome to this Loft Zone practical guide on how to create a raised loft floor for storage or access purposes above the full depth of insulation in a loft. The only tools you'll need are a tape measure, an electric screwdriver and 4 by 40mm screws, that's 8 inches by 1.5 inches, ideally spacks. You'll need 2 screws per Loft Zone part plus extra for the boards. Ideally, fit the Loft Zone supports and cross beams after the first layer of insulation has been laid down between the joists, but before the top-up insulation has been laid over the top. Then put the boards on top of the deck last. However, if the raised loft floor goes in after the insulation, then you'll need to temporarily roll back the top-up insulation in the area of the deck. Setting out. Avoiding all the obstructions, place all the tri-supports in position before screwing them down. Use either a laser or a string line if there is a long row, or work off a fixed line like the truss webs or ceiling bracing if they are straight. It's easiest to set out the rows that the boards end on first and then the intermediate rows after that because their position is not so crucial. If you have an obstruction you're working around, then install the row closest to that first, then the rest of the deck can be built from there. There is a locating lip at the bottom of each tri-support. This also helps to provide lateral support for the deck. Try to alternate these lips so that one rests against one side of the joist, the next against the other side of the joist, etc. The rows of tri-supports should be 600mm apart if you're using boards that are 1.2 or 2.4 metres long, or 610mm apart if you're using 1.22 metre boards. Don't space them more than 610mm apart, as loft boards are not designed for greater spans than this. The critical rows are those at the end of the boards. Intermediate rows can have a bit of tolerance, but don't exceed the 610mm maximum. Make sure the tri-supports do not touch party walls or trusses. Leave a few millimetres gap instead. Leave at least 400mm gap near the eaves for ventilation. In some cases you may find that a row of tri-supports ends very close to a gable wall or other obstruction and the triangle doesn't quite fit. In this case, place a uni-support at the end of the row and place the tri-support on the next nearest joist. However, do not miss out the tri-support, as this is the main load-bearing part. Fixing. We'll now demonstrate how to fix the Loft Zone raised loft floor using the 1.2 metre long cross beams. Start by screwing the plastic tri-supports to the joists. Each tri-support should be fixed with 2 screws into the joist it sits on. Use a low torque setting on the drill to minimise any chance of damaging the ceiling. Fix the tri-supports securely to the joist, but back off when the screw is almost in. Do not screw in too hard or the tri-support can be damaged. The next step is to slide the cross beams over the tri-supports. They can be sharp at the edges, so we recommend wearing gloves. Slide all the cross beams in a row into position first before screwing any down, and make sure that each one lines up through a slit in the top of the cross beam with the hole in the tri-support below. At this time, fit but do not yet screw the uni-supports into place by placing them into the cross beam and rotating them into the lock position on the joist. The uni-supports stiffen the deck up and help to transfer loads onto joists that are otherwise spanned over. We recommend 1 uni-support on every second cross beam, and you should place them evenly underneath the deck or in the areas where footfall is highest. Make sure the hole in the top of the uni-support is located underneath a slit in the cross beam above it. In the unusual case where the slit does not line up, just drill through the steel crossbeam. Once all the supports are in position, screw each crossbeam down firmly anywhere through the slit on the beam into the pre-drilled hole and the tri-support below. Note that it's normal for the crossbeam to be compressed down slightly into the tri-support. Then do the same with the uni-supports, screwing them into the crossbeam with a single screw and screwing them into the joist. There are 2 screw holes at the base of each uni-support for ease of access, but you need use only 1, unless it's at the very end of a row. Now is the time to roll out the top-up insulation in the loft. However, do not sit or stand on the supports nor beams until the boards are screwed down. The next step is to fix the boards on top of the cross beams. Place the boards in position over the top of the beams, allowing for their tongue and groove fitting. You can use small loft boards, 1220 by 320 or 325mm, or larger ones, 2400 by 600mm. The board should be at least 18mm thick. Where the boards end in the middle of the deck, the boards should reach halfway across the 80mm width of the crossbeam. This is to allow the next board to be supported by the same beam. Where the boards finish at the end of the deck, however, you can take these right up to the edge of the crossbeam or even allow for a short overhang. When in position, screw the loft boards directly into the metal crossbeams. Use 3 screws per board and 6 screws for end boards. You must screw through the board into every crossbeam. Do not miss out the middle beam. Don't try to fix the screws into the slits in the top of the crossbeams, but instead just screw them directly into the metal itself, where they will self-tap. Do not screw into the tri-support, only screw into the metal between the supports. Usually there is no need to pre-drill pilot holes in the boards, nor to countersink them. Finally, remove all your tools from the loft and affix the loading warning sign somewhere prominent that is close to the loft so that it can be seen by people entering the loft space.